If you are looking for professional advice to decide between buying manual or autofocus lenses, then you should not be here. This video is more about personal experience as a tight budget photography enthusiast who doesn't want to drain their wallet but still enjoys photography as a fun hobby. A hobby that doesn't really care about the latest gear available, but instead enjoys cheap, old, or not so fancy alternatives in the photography world. From my experience, choosing between manual or autofocus lenses is mainly a matter of need and what kind of cameras suits best. Well, I bet most of us are more familiar with autofocus lenses, especially in consumer cameras like this Nikon S3700 or this Canon SX230 or the slightly more professional version or what they call prosumer cameras like the Canon G12 or Canon G1X. And of course, these kinds of cameras are easier to use. The lens is fixed to the camera body. It is not interchangeable, and often you can do some zooming with it, which is cool. But when you decide to buy an old second-hand body-only camera like this Olympus EP3 or Lumix GF3 or GX1 or even this old Fujifilm X-E1, you need to decide whether you need manual or autofocus lenses, as often manual lenses are cheaper than the autofocus ones. From my experience, the answer is quite easy. If you want easy instant photography, or you are using your camera as a tool to document your daily life, you want to go straight to autofocus lenses. For that kind of purpose, my current favorite interchangeable camera with an autofocus lens is my Lumix GX1. This camera is currently my EDC. I bring it almost everywhere, to work, grocery shopping, going for a small walk, and especially traveling. It's compact, fast, and reliable to snap every moment that you want to keep instantly. Autofocus lenses will indeed serve you better when you are on travel, since you do not need to worry about focusing your photography subject. The lens will do it for you. The second reason why I think you need to go straight with autofocus lenses is when your camera doesn't have a viewfinder, a built-in viewfinder. Again, this is my personal experience. Getting to that alternative to view your subject through a viewfinder when you are using manual lenses, I think is a must. This is important because if you are using an external optical viewfinder, that thing is practically useless because you cannot focus using your external optical viewfinder. If your camera doesn't have a built-in viewfinder and you want to use a manual lens, then you need an external electronic viewfinder, which is quite pricey, so keep that in mind. You can always choose between autofocus zoom lenses or prime lenses. For my personal taste, I prefer prime lenses. When I have this combo, the Lumix GX1 with the Panasonic 14mm f2.5, I always feel like I'm holding the pricey Ricoh GR meant for easy photography. But if you want to learn about photography in a hard way and you do not really need to be quick to snap every moment and you want to take it slow, pick your subject carefully, I think manual lenses will serve you best. Think like holding Leica M series, as you cannot throw autofocus lenses on them. Of course, by the time you master manual lens photography, you can be as quick as when you are using autofocus lenses. The most common technique would be range focusing or zone focusing, where you can preset the focusing ring on your lens before you approach or bump into your subject. That way, you can even focus your subject faster than using autofocus lens. But To be able to do that, you need to make sure that your manual lens has distance ring marks along with the aperture mark. Some of the manual lenses do not have this feature, so make sure you have that. Here I have 3 different samples of various manual lenses. These are chip capable lenses. This one is Industar 50mm f3.5, a vintage Soviet lens that is still adored by many photography enthusiasts out there. You can see the aperture ring is placed at the very front of the camera. This is quite unusual actually. And these 2 marks are what you need to do range focusing or zone focusing. I also have this 7 Artisans 35mm f1.2. The aperture ring is placed close to the camera body. These marks are what you need to do range focusing or zone focusing. However, some manual lenses don't have those marks. This is Fujian 35mm f1.6. As you can see, you only have the f1.6 aperture mark on this one, compared to the Industar 50mm f3.5 and 7 Artisans 35mm f1.2. Both have the complete aperture marks to do zone focusing. Typically, you will have these marks on the left and on the right side, but this one, you only get the f1.6 mark at the center, which is the widest aperture possible for this lens. Well, you get that same widest mark on this Industar 50 at the center, but you also have these different f-stops to the left and to the right. You will typically get these distance marks. M here stands for meters, so the closest you can get with this lens is 1 meter up to infinity to your subject. Some lenses also feature distance marks in both meters and feet, like the 7 Artisan 35mm f1.2. The closest you can get to your subject with this particular lens is 0.28 meters or 28 centimeter up to infinity. So to do range focusing or zone focusing, and let's say for example you shoot at f5.6, and that is the first thing you need to do, set the aperture. So after you set your aperture at f5.6, for example, what you need to do is pay attention to marks on this line. You can find the same exact number as your aperture, but this time you have it twice, on the right side and on the left side. So if you set the aperture here at 5.6, then any distances between both 5.6 on the right and on the left, which are represented by these marks, will be in focus. The same rule goes with any aperture you choose. The wider the aperture, the narrower the range of focus. So the distance is for you to control. At this specific example, with 5.6 aperture, I set the distance between 2 to 3.5 meters. So any subject between 2 to 3.5 meters will be in focus. So if you want to learn about range focusing or zone focusing with your manual lens, make sure you buy the right lens. You can go for Russian vintage lenses like this one. You can adapt this lens to almost any camera mount. The adapter for manual lenses is cheap, so you don't need to worry about that. Or you can go with new manual lens manufacturers like 7 Artisans or TT Artisans. All of them are quite affordable with many different price ranges. When you buy a manual lens, you also want to consider whether you want clicks on your aperture ring like this one, or you want the smooth transitions on the aperture ring like this one, which is very handy if you are also into videography or doing videography for fun. Oh, by the way, all the film look recipe that I use in the photo samples are available on this channel. Please feel free to check them out. If you want more top secret hacks and tricks to transform your ancient cameras into Hollywood superstars, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell to join me on this photographic roller coaster. Until next time, keep snapping and keep it budget tight. Au revoir.